The first time Marcus Wrench Sullivan saw Sarah Chun, she was standing in the parking lot of County General Hospital, her small frame trembling as she fumbled with her car keys. Her 7-year-old daughter, Emma, clutched her mother's hand, eyes wide with worry. Wrench had just visited his own mother on the cardiac floor when he spotted them. The woman doubled over, trying to catch her breath, trying to hide her tears from the little girl who needed her to be strong. He'd walked past dozens of people that day. Hell, he'd walked past hundreds of struggling souls in his 46 years. But something about the way Sarah straightened her spine, wiped her eyes, and smiled down at her daughter with forced brightness made him stop. "You all right there, ma'am?" His voice was gravelly, rough from years of riding and even more years of keeping his thoughts to himself. Sarah looked up at the towering figure before her. 6'4", covered in tattoos, wearing the unmistakable leather vest of the Hells Angels. She instinctively pulled Emma closer. Wrench noticed. He always noticed. "Don't mean to scare you," he said, softer now. "Just looked like you could use a hand." Sarah's carefully constructed composure crumbled. Maybe it was exhaustion. Maybe it was the chemo that had ravaged her body for 3 months. Maybe it was simply that sometimes, when someone offers genuine kindness, the walls come down whether you want them to or not. "My car won't start," she whispered. "And I can't afford another thing. Not one more thing." Wrench learned Sarah's story in the 20 minutes it took him to jumpstart her ancient Toyota. Stage 3 breast cancer. Single mother. Laid off from her job at the plastics factory 2 weeks before her diagnosis. Medical bills piling up like snow in a blizzard. Family scattered across the country, unable to help. He didn't make promises that day. Didn't tell her everything would be okay. He'd seen too much of the world's cruelty to peddle false hope. Instead, he handed her a $50 bill from his wallet, grocery money, he told her, for the kid, and wrote his phone number on the back of a gas station receipt. "You need something, you call," he said. "Jumpstart, ride to the hospital, whatever. No strings." Sarah stared at the number, at this unexpected angel in leather and chrome, and managed a real smile for the first time in weeks. "Thank you," she said. "Really, thank you." Wrench shrugged, uncomfortable with gratitude. "We take care of our own. And kid," he said, crouching down to Emma's level. "You take care of your mama, all right?" Emma nodded solemnly, and Wrench walked back to his Harley, the rumble of its engine drowning out the small voice in his head that told him he should do more. 2 weeks later, Sarah's car broke down completely. The transmission, the mechanic said, $1,500 minimum. She sat in the repair shop parking lot and cried real, gasping sobs that she'd held in for so long they hurt coming out. Then she remembered the receipt in her wallet. Wrench answered on the second ring. 40 minutes later, he rolled into the parking lot on his bike, took one look at Sarah's face, and made a decision. "I got a buddy, Diesel, runs a garage on 5th Street. He owes me a favor. Let me make a call. I can't afford. Didn't ask if you could afford it. Asked you to let me make a call." Within the hour, Sarah's car was on a flatbed headed to Diesel's garage. Within 2 days, it was running better than it had in 5 years. When Sarah asked about the bill, Diesel just shook his head. "Already taken care of." Wrench said, "You're good people. That's enough for me." Sarah drove to the clubhouse that Saturday, Emma in tow. She'd never been to a motorcycle club before. The building was low-slung and weathered, surrounded by rows of gleaming Harleys. Hard-looking men and women lounged on the porch, smoking, laughing, living lives Sarah couldn't begin to understand. Wrench met her at the door. "Come to say thank you?" he asked, a hint of amusement in his voice. "Come to ask why," Sarah replied. "Why would you do this for a stranger?" Wrench was quiet for a long moment, watching Emma explore the bikes with cautious wonder. "My sister," he finally said. "Ovarian cancer. She was 32. Had 2 little ones, husband split when she got sick. I was inside when it happened, couldn't be there for her." He paused, old pain flickering across his weathered face. "Guess I'm trying to be there for her now, even if it's too late, if that makes any sense." Sarah's eyes filled with tears. It makes perfect sense. That night, Wrench told the story at church, what the club called their weekly meetings. He told them about Sarah, about Emma, about bills and chemo and a broken-down car that was the least of this woman's problems. She needs help, he said simply. Real help. The kind we can give. Razor, the club president, studied Wrench for a long moment. They'd ridden together for 20 years, through good times and bad, through law enforcement crackdowns and internal beefs that nearly tore the club apart. He knew Wrench didn't ask for favors, didn't get involved in people's problems, kept his head down and his loyalty fierce. What are you thinking? Razor asked. Fundraiser, Wrench said. Ride. Get some of the other charters involved. We've done it before for brothers who went down. Why not for someone who needs it? There was murmuring around the room, some supportive, some skeptical. The club had a reputation to maintain, after all. They weren't a charity. But then Ghost, the oldest member, spoke up. His voice was thin but carried weight. My old lady died of cancer, he said. Nobody helped us. Not the government, not the church, not the neighbors who'd known us for 30 years. We lost everything: savings, house, dignity. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. He looked at Wrench. I'm in. One by one, hands went up around the room. The first fundraiser was modest. A poker run involving maybe 50 bikers from the local charter and a few guys from the next county over. They raised $3,000. It wasn't enough to cure cancer, but it was enough to cover Sarah's rent for 3 months. Enough to buy groceries. Enough to let her breathe. When Wrench delivered the money, Sarah broke down completely. I don't know how to thank you, she sobbed. I don't know how to ever repay this. You don't repay it, Wrench said gruffly. You get better. You stick around for that little girl. That's the repayment. But something had started that Wrench hadn't anticipated. Word spread through the motorcycle community, through social media, through the invisible networks that connect people who live on society's margins. Other charters heard about Sarah, about a club stepping up for someone who wasn't family, wasn't even part of their world. A charter 3 states over reached out. We've got a mother of 4 in our town, colon cancer, same situation. Can we do something similar? Then another, and another. Within 2 months, Sarah's story had spread through the biker community like wildfire. Charters across the country were organizing their own rides, their own fundraisers. Some for Sarah, some for people in their own communities who needed help. The movement took on a life of its own. The big ride happened on a Saturday in October, when the leaves were turning and the air had that perfect crisp quality that made you grateful for leather jackets. Sarah was 5 months into treatment, weak but stable, her prognosis cautiously optimistic. Wrench had told her a few guys were coming by to show support. Maybe 100, he'd said. Nothing crazy. When she and Emma arrived at the meetup point, a massive parking lot at the county fairgrounds, Sarah's mouth fell open. Motorcycles stretched as far as she could see. Hundreds of them, maybe more than 1,000. Gleaming Harleys, Indians, Triumphs, custom choppers, touring bikes. Riders in club colors from a dozen different states. Support riders who weren't affiliated with any club but had heard the story and wanted to be part of something good. The rumble of engines was deafening, magnificent, like thunder rolling across the earth. Oh my God, Sarah whispered. Wrench appeared at her elbow, grinning wider than she'd ever seen. Told you a few guys were coming, he said. Guess I underestimated a bit. Razor took the microphone, his voice booming across the crowd. We're here today because one of our brothers saw someone in need and decided to do something about it. That's what we do. That's who we are. The world thinks we're outlaws, troublemakers, dangerous. Let them think what they want. We know the truth. We take care of our own. And today, Sarah and Emma are our own. The roar of approval from 500 throats was overwhelming. Every dollar raised today goes directly to Sarah's medical expenses. And when she's better, because she will get better, we're setting up a fund to help other families fighting cancer. Because this isn't just about one person. This is about community. This is about showing up when it matters. The ride itself was spectacular. A procession of motorcycles 30 miles long, winding through town and countryside, the sound announcing their presence long before they came into view. People lined the streets, some cheering, some recording on their phones, some just staring in awe at the sheer magnitude of it. Emma rode in the front, perched in a sidecar attached to Wrench's bike, her laughter audible even over the engines. Sarah rode with Ghost, arms wrapped around his thin frame, tears streaming down her face, not from sadness but from something she couldn't quite name. Gratitude, maybe, or hope, or the simple, overwhelming knowledge that she wasn't alone. By the end of the day, they'd raised $67,000. The news covered it. Local stations first, then regional, then national. The story was too perfect to ignore. Tough bikers with hearts of gold, helping a single mother fight cancer. Cameras captured the moment Sarah was presented with the check, her legs buckling, Wrench catching her before she fell. "You did this," she kept saying. "You all did this." "Nah," Wrench replied, his voice rough with emotion he didn't know he still had. "You did this. You fought. You kept going. We just showed up to remind you that you're not fighting alone." The money paid for the remainder of Sarah's treatment, covered Emma's school expenses, bought them time and security and the most precious commodity of all, peace of mind. Sarah's cancer went into remission 8 months after that first meeting in the hospital parking lot. The doctors called it a miracle, but Sarah knew better. Miracles came in the form of jumpstarts and phone calls and $50 bills tucked into your hand by strangers who became family. The movement continued. The fundraiser mentioned became real. A registered nonprofit run by club members and volunteers, helping families across the country facing medical crises. They called it Rolling Thunder Support, and in its first year, it helped 73 families. Wrench never sought credit, never wanted attention, but he showed up at every event, every ride, every fundraiser. He became the face of something he'd never intended to start. Proof that redemption was possible, that past mistakes didn't define you, that choosing kindness was the bravest thing a person could do. 2 years after that first meeting, Sarah and Emma attended the club's anniversary party. Sarah was healthy now, her hair grown back, her color returned. Emma was 9, confident and bright, no longer the scared little girl clinging to her mother's hand. They found Wrench working on his bike in the garage, the same bike that had carried them through the worst time of their lives. "Hey, stranger," Sarah said. Wrench looked up, broke into a genuine smile. "Hey yourself. You look good. I feel good. Because of you." "Because of a lot of people," Wrench corrected. "Because you started it," Sarah insisted. She pulled out an envelope, handed it to him. "I wanted you to have this." Inside was a photo from the big ride. Wrench and Emma, her face split wide with joy, his arm around her shoulders. Below it, Emma had written in careful script, "To Uncle Wrench, my hero. Love, Emma." The tough biker, the man who'd seen the inside of prison cells and the dark side of humanity, who'd lived hard and loved harder, felt his eyes sting. "Uncle Wrench," he repeated. "I like that." Emma hugged him tight. "Mom says you saved us, but I think we saved you too." From the mouths of babes, Wrench thought. Maybe the kid was right. The rumble of motorcycles can mean many things. It can mean rebellion, freedom, danger, adventure. But sometimes, if you listen closely, it means something else entirely. It means hope. It means someone is coming to help. It means you're not alone in the fight. And in a parking lot on a cold autumn day, one biker decided that rumble would mean salvation for a woman and her daughter who needed it most. What he started rippled outward, touching hundreds of lives, proving that community isn't about where you come from or what you look like or the patches on your vest. It's about showing up. It's about doing the right thing even when no one's watching. It's about recognizing that we're all just one crisis away from needing help ourselves, and that the measure of humanity isn't in how we treat those who can give us something in return, but in how we treat those who can't. Wrench still rides every day, the wind in his face, the road stretching endlessly before him. But now, tucked in his vest pocket, he carries a photo of a little girl who calls him uncle and a mother who calls him savior, even though he insists he's just a man who happened to be in the right place at the right time. Maybe that's all any hero really is, someone who sees a need and chooses to act. The rest is just rumble and chrome and the unbreakable bonds of community forged in the fire of compassion. And that, as it turns out, is everything. This story isn't the end. It's one of many. Subscribe now and ride with us through stories of courage, redemption, and hope.